campus. So in this weather, coming here to give a presentation, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chanaka, and thank you, everybody. It's a really nice out there, and you'll probably stay in a hotel today, so without going back. Let me just turn my presentation on. That's me in the presentation, right? And the students actually from the university called University of Sri Jayewardenapura, and only somebody who was born in Sri Lanka can pronounce it perfectly. And these are my students, and this is a collaboration really between UW-Platteville and this university, and UW system and this university. So let me get started on what really happened. First of all, please do the Fulbright Specialist program. It's 2 to 6 weeks, and the only requirement is that you have to be a US citizen, and then you have to have training, educational training knowledge in some discipline, wide variety of lists, right? And then there are about 170 countries that you can visit, right? A lot of countries, I mean, and of course I selected the country that I felt that I could make the biggest impact on. So let me tell you how this all started. Before I came here, I came to the UW system in 2007, and at that time, before that I was teaching at the University of Colombo in Sri Lanka. And I was a student there as an undergraduate, and I graduated from Purdue at the PhD. So it was, part of me was in Sri Lanka at University of Colombo, and part of me was in the United States. And I have a very passionate relationship with the state university system in Sri Lanka. And it's not because Lonely Planet voted Sri Lanka as the #1 destination to travel. It is more personal. It is the place where I had the biggest fun in my life, the most joyful days. It's the place that I met my life partner, I fell in love. And it is a very, very, very emotional, sentimental place for me. And when I always thought there was something in the state university system in Sri Lanka that kind of bothered me a little bit. And which is, they had some of the most talented students and the brilliant students in the country. But when they try to get into the job market, the industry, there seem to be some obstacles. Now let me explain by telling how those obstacles came about. See, Sri Lankan universities were more or less formed under the British system, where the education and the job market were separated. And during the education, during college, students had very little opportunity to find out what the job market, what the industry expects from them. One, what the soft skills that are needed for the industry. Two, how to actually solve a real life problem, an industry problem while you're there. Three, and they usually do that only after they graduate. And the fourth thing is that by nature, most Sri Lankans are conservative in their speech. They do not like to sell themselves. So right after graduation, just imagine, you go to an interview and then you don't sell yourself. You have like 10 minutes to prove yourself. And that is not good. So over the last 20 years or people have really tried to make a difference. And I identified one of the main problems there is that there is no exposure of students to the industry for a reasonable period of time. I mean, they wait until the school is over and then you go to the interview and that's it. So I was thinking, a lot of people have been thinking, is there a possibility that we can actually link the students while they are in school with the industry for an extended period of time? For even a small period of time, for a couple of months or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Well, very nice, but it's not going to happen. Why? Because one, students are in school, they have to finish their degree program. They can't be in the industry. And at the same time, two, in the industry cannot really afford to have a whole bunch of students turning up and then sponsoring or interning them for a while, right? Then, so there was a problem. But I kind of see the solution, but I found it difficult to find a solution. And then, in 2007, when I came to the UW system, My main areas of research were in math education, in scholarship of teaching and learning, particularly in instructional technology. So I presented and wrote publications on things like virtual clickers, using cell phone clickers, and Twitter black channeling, using Twitter to solve a deep mathematical problem. But all those studies that I conducted were with the final goal of getting students here in Wisconsin to collaborate, to engage over a longer period of time to solve a challenging problem. For example, when we do Twitter hashtagging, what we do is we take a difficult integral, Bob will know this very difficult integral, and we will assign assign a hashtag to that integral and ask students to solve it. And if it cannot be done during class time, the students can actually take it outside and then do it over a 24-hour period. They can tell, okay, this is how you attack this problem. Let's use integration by parts, combination, the substitution, and blah, blah, blah. But they collaborate and they engage. So then I suddenly realized that problem in Sri Lanka, there could be a solution here. So if you cannot make the students and the industry connect in actual physical presence, we can try to connect them when? Through virtually, through the technology. Why can't we actually get them to connect to technology? And the moment I got this, that was the birth of the Fulbright Specialist program. I said, I'm going to go back to a very passionate place that I've lived in, and I'm going to use all these things that I learned in Wisconsin and try to make a difference once again. So then, that was my Fulbright project, and then there just two parts. So the first part was this. So for this part, I used my knowledge of flipped classrooms, not to the most procedure and the proper best practices sense that we use it here, but in a more loose sense. What we did was we got 3 organizations, all in computer science, because that's where this particular faculty, the school that I was dealing with, was the School of Applied Science, and most graduates end up as IT graduates and computer science, right? So I selected computer science, and we got 3 leading industry industry organizations. CodeGen was one, IFS was another one, and Creative Software was the third. What they did was this. They would actually give a video to the students. And the video can be a general video, like how did Uber start? Or it could be a video where you have somebody playing piano in a Paris train station and others join in to improvise. But all the videos had a message about collaboration, about the needs of the employment sector, about the passion that is required from the students. So, and over the period of 2 weeks, they asked the students to do some tasks based on the video. Now the students are at the university, the industry is somewhere else. Everything is taking place in the virtual environment. And then what they did was they prepared these presentations. And at the end of 2 weeks, they had industry visit. They were invited to the industry for a field day. And they presented their talks, and the industry gave them feedback. This is, what we feel is really good about the thing. So that was phase 1. And then, so let me just show you some. So this is the problem. So this is one of the videos. How did Uber start, right? And then the task was this. You can see it. But, as a software engineer, what is most important? Is the work or knowledge of software development tools, right? So by watching that, to actually do a broad analysis of the topic, and then come and make a presentation. So that was the first project. So now you can see some pictures of students presenting at, and this was the very first time actually these students were invited to an actual industry environment in an industry boardroom where they were asked to present. Did it work? We surveyed them, right? And then here's what they found. So let's see whether I can get this right. So the industry helped you to get a good exposure to the industry. So it was a typical strongly disagree scale, right? So 64% of the students strongly agreed, and the remaining 36 agreed. So basically there was nobody who disagreed with that. And we gave the students a list of, and this is very interesting. Before the project, 58% ranked academic qualifications as the number one attribute, while 42% ranked passion as the number one attribute. They were given a bunch of attributes that the industry expects from the students. And most naturally thought that the academic skills and the tools are the ones that the industry expects. But afterwards, we actually found out that all 100% of the students ranked passion as the number one thing. The fire in the belly, the work mindset, the passion as the number one thing that the industry wanted from the students. That was a big change, right? And then we felt that it worked, and then we went to the second part. Now, before I go to the second part, remember the Fulbright Specialist program is only 2 to 6 weeks. So I can't possibly do all this in 2 to 6 weeks. I have to say hi to my aunts and relatives also, right? Okay. So what happened was, so I started this phase, right, and actually made sure that all the industries are on board, right, and I made sure that two other things took place, initial visits, and then I came back here, and I was worried. All these nice things usually vanish the moment you travel so many oceans away, right, and there's a 10.5-hour time difference. But they didn't. They completed the project, and they completed the survey, and they were very happy. And now, I want to do the second part of the project, which was actually, these problems are not really technical industry problems. They were more about attitude, about the approach, right, about engagement and growth mindset and stuff like that. But I wanted to now see whether we can actually do a problem-solving session virtually, like what I would do in Wisconsin, right? Okay, so what I did was I got the same 3 companies, and what they did was they invited the students over one time, and they presented the groups with 3 problems. So one group, second group, third group, and these actually were current problems those companies were dealing with, and they threw it out to the student group and said, you have 2 weeks, right, and actually about 2.5 weeks, right, we want you to start attacking the problem and try to find out what you can do in this 2.5 weeks. And where am I? I'm here now in Baraboo. And things are getting cold, right? It was November, December, and I was trying to figure out, and I was saying, actually people are telling, isn't the Fulbright Specialist program over now? Were you paid? I said, yes, I was paid. Everything is settled, the tickets were paid, right? The honorarium, they paid like $200 a day or something, right? And I was there for like 1 month, and then they paid. It's all done. Why am I still doing it? There's something deep inside. I was using this to attack a problem that I'm very sentimental about, using my current knowledge, my current training in Wisconsin. And I felt really good. And I felt that if I could get it to work, this was stick. And there were some really dedicated students and professors there who said, let's do it. So what I did was, so they gave these 3 problems to the students. And then having run the undergraduate research program at Baraboo, being the coordinator, I know that just giving the problem is not going to help, because you need a life cycle. Otherwise, the students will not work, not often, but other things take over, like the homework assignments, the midterms, right? So to get the students motivated and engaged, you need to have a life cycle, some deadlines. So I made sure that they have to submit a report at the end of every week as to what they did, what the task accomplished, and the report has to be copied to myself in Wisconsin and the company resource persons back in Sri Lanka. And I was still kept here. Guess what happened? They actually did it. They actually did it, and then I think they got really excited, and I heard rumors saying that, oh, we are doing the Fulbright project, and and then everybody got excited. And so now this project is almost over, and for the first time, I'm using again now at University of Wisconsin Baraboo, and at the UW system, we have the research in Rotunda for several years. I coordinated the program for Baraboo, and we thought, hey, you know what, let's get those students to present what they did as posters, which they're actually going to do on the 12th of February. And they're going to do it at 11 o'clock. And then I said, that's like in the morning. That's like 11:30 at night here. Do you want me? No, we really want you to join via Skype and watch this. So now on 11:30 at night on the 12th, I'll be wearing like a suit and standing near a camera and watching and participating in their closing ceremony, which will be presentation and a poster session. And that's a very good poster session that they have actually done in that university for those students. So and they really did this. So what and how did they feel about it? So these are some of the students they actually, so this IFS is actually one of the largest industrial financial systems. It's an international organization, one of the largest in the world actually, ranked 42nd largest software company in the world or something. And so they got a chance to actually go and work with them. So these are the actually industry professionals and these are some of the students, right? So they were able to work together on this project. How did they say? So this particular batch has only 10 students because they are computer science majors. How did they fare? Not to, I mean, it's only like very small sample size, but it's still okay. Still okay, it's a start. Alright. So, let me present this video to you. Let's hope it runs. Usually they don't run, right?
Hi, we are the computer science special students who participated for the Fulbright industry training program. And during this training program, I specifically learned how the software development life cycle is practiced in an industry environment.
We saw how the company culture works and we learned how to interact with people.
I really got the habit of finding and reading and understanding research papers deeply, which was very hard for me earlier. So,
Thanks a lot, Fulbright.
Oh wow, nice. And it did work. And so finally, I want to thank a lot of people. Again, it takes a village to run something like that. So a lot of people at the university, Dr. Ravi De Silva, one of my former students, who is, and the dean and number of students, right? Ugudu and Channa and Davita from the industry, and then the students, Udeka Kavidu, Udita, Avdisha, and all very nice names. And thanks for well learning. That ones who coordinate the Fulbright program and Fulbright program of Sri Lanka. By the way, it's the #1 destination to visit. If you are not into collaboration and engagement of students using virtual tutors and Twitter, this is always there. So do visit. Any questions? Is the time for questions?
Yep. Yeah. This is the time for questions. If you have any questions for Katie, please go ahead and